WBAY-TV, your first alert station. Action 2 News This Morning live stream starts now.
Hey there, welcome everyone. Gotta grab my cup of coffee here. I was like, I just filled it up and it is full to the brim. If that gives you an indication of what kind of morning, what kind of morning it is, right? First alert weather day. We were talking all about that. By the way, my partner Emerson, he's off today and tomorrow yet, but he's going to be joining us. He's enjoying some well-deserved time off. We're going to dive into some topics. I'm going to move on over to the weather wall with Steve here. And I didn't even get to get a sip of my coffee yet.
Bring it with you. No, bring it with you.
No, it's really too full,
It's
Steve.
too full?
It is too full. I jump on out right after the studio.
Well, I don't want you to spill it on the floor here.
To take a little break. And filled up my coffee. So anyway, all right. So we're talking about a first alert weather day.
Yeah.
We have the fog. And I love this when you give us the view with the 6 different cameras, because I think it kind of shows a different picture, you know, depending on where you are. It goes, kind of similar.
You know, because we give a forecast that has to cover everybody from Iron Mountain, Michigan, down to Fond du Lac and Sheboygan. And so in between, it's not always the same. But you can see where the dense fog is: Green Bay, Shawano, Appleton, Oshkosh. Not so much in Sturgeon Bay and in Manitowoc, but the temperatures are all pretty much the same. They're mostly in the upper 20s. So we've got areas of freezing fog, although not everybody has that reduced visibility. Tammy, for fun, can you put your iPad down? I'm going to have you do something here. So I want people to realize that clouds form at different elevations in the sky. I want you to go like this with your hands.
Okay, this?
Okay.
About that much?
So this is low cloud cover, and this is high cloud cover. Does that make sense? So when we look at our nighttime satellite view, we're looking at 2 different layers of clouds. These milky white clouds that are moving away, those are the high clouds.
Right here.
So now take that away from me. And all you see left is the low cloud cover. That's this blue blob in the Fox Valley and over towards the lakeshore. So basically we kind of revealed the low clouds underneath the high clouds. And now we can really see from our satellite where that fog is dense. And it's pretty thick, especially in the Fox Valley right now. Our severe weather outlook is low. This is really close to moderate. But, you know, for the next couple hours, we're going to have poor visibility and slick spots. And, you know, Catherine talks about this all the time. If you can give yourself an extra 5 or 10 minutes, that can be a big difference. And, you know, sidewalks and parking lots can be especially precarious, you know, for a lot of our, you know, senior citizens. They step out of the car, they lose their balance.
It doesn't even matter on your age sometimes, I got to admit, right?
Well, you were saying you were carrying a lot of things the other day.
I was remembering that. Catherine gave us that tip, you know, don't have your hands full because it helps with balance, you know, but we carry stuff in, coming in onto work. And
just center yourself,
right? Exactly.
So the Weather Service, they put out a dense fog advisory. It expires at 10 o'clock. The western edge of it is Waushara, Wapaka, Shawano counties, and to the east. Now, it expires at 10 o'clock. I wouldn't be surprised if in a few spots it goes longer.
Okay.
Pinpoint Predictor's been hinting at that. The fog is the thickest in the Fox Valley. There's a lot of spots reporting quarter-mile visibility, and even in Oconto there, quarter-mile visibility. And of course, with the thick fog, we've got temperatures below freezing, so it is freezing fog. And that's why, you know, we talk about those icy spots. That just adds insult to injury with the issue of just not being able to see where you're going.
I was checking some airline, you know, Austin Straubel, and then also Appleton International, and there are some flights that are delayed this morning.
It'll slow down.
And so, if you're flying out this morning, definitely want to check that.
And I think that might be an issue for the next couple hours, but after 10 a.m., the fog is going to start thinning out a little bit. The clouds might give way to some sun. We saw it yesterday just west of the valley, but it just didn't quite clear out in the Fox cities and Green Bay. We'll get a high of 42 if the skies brighten up, and that's nothing. Look at the 7-day forecast, Tammy. It gets even warmer the next few days. Some of these highs the next few days could be close to tying or breaking records. 52 on Thursday. Thursday evening, you might hear some thunder. Nothing severe, but just enough to perk you up a little bit. And then we cool into the 30s over the weekend. Of course, this is the sturgeon spearing weekend. And, you know, we've been talking about how poor it's going to be on the ice. And what really makes it just that much of a clincher to me to not even participate is on the opener Saturday. We get a blustery west wind, gusts around 25 miles an hour. That can cause some ice flows where the sheets of ice are moving. We don't want anybody on the ice when that happens.
So it could break apart. This is different than ice shoves, which are like the ice coming up on
Chunks
shore.
of shore go on shore. This is where ice flow. Ice is wandering around in the body of water, and people are stranded, and we don't want that to happen.
Scary.
So I don't know. I'm not going to tell you what to do, but I wouldn't. Let's put it that way.
All right, Steve, thank you so much. All right, moving over to talk with Catherine now, First Alert Traffic, and you've been keeping an eye on these DOT cameras and kind of what Steve has been saying too, really, kind of depending on where you are. And
yeah,
you're looking at this one right here, and we do see some fog.
Yeah, this is Fond du Lac, 41 at Highway 23. That's the Johnson Street exit. And you can see off in the distance there, that kind of gray haze. So this isn't the worst that we've seen. And that's kind of the point with fog, is it can change, you know, it can really be different depending on the area you are and the time you go through. So you want to be mindful of that. Even though we have this fog this morning, the drive times look okay right now on the lakeshore on 43 between Ashwaubenon and the Manitowoc. I should say between Bellevue and the Manitowoc area. It's normal, about 27 minutes north or south. Then 43 between Manitowoc and Sheboygan, also looking good, about 19 minutes north or south. But, you know, I hesitate to phrase it this way because I don't want to scare people. But we, you know, Tammy and Aisha and I, over the years in our news stories, we have covered really, really dangerous, severe, serious crashes in fog. And so we just don't want that to happen again today. So it'll really help if you slow down, increase the following distance, and don't be in a rush.
Yeah, so important. Thank you, Catherine. All right, talking about the ice conditions, just getting worse. Just days until sturgeon spearing season. Saturday opens, potentially dangerous conditions. So we have Emily Roberts joining us live out at Paynes Point in Neenah. And Emily, really, this season could look a lot different. So tell us what you're seeing out there this morning and where you are.
Right. I mean, take a look at this. You can see not my big notebook, but beyond that, you can see it looks like no one has been here for a long, long time. There's really no signs of anyone setting up shop, and we are just days away from sturgeon spearing. So our Action 2 News team has been out here. We've been chatting with so many different fishing clubs over the past couple of weeks, and they've really been adjusting their plans. Here at Paynes Point, their fishery is set for this weekend. Fishery is still going on, but they did cancel the band and fishing portion of that event, and the same went for Otter Street Fishing Club last weekend. They canceled the fishing part. So, you know, a lot of these fishing clubs are really trying to make sure that folks stay safe this season. Some of them recommending that people just, you know, use caution. A lot of folks we've been talking to say that no sturgeon, or fish for that matter, general ice fishing, is worth your life. So that's the big message as folks are monitoring these conditions. A lot of people say that each time they go out, it's just worse and worse, more slush, less ice.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've been talking about this, how the DNR can't cancel the sturgeon season because of, you know, the legislation on that. But you've been talking also with the DNR and trying to figure out how could this impact sturgeon population if there aren't a lot of spearers out there.
Right. We spoke to Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources, a sturgeon biologist who really monitors this population very closely. I mean, that's their job title. So let me pull out some information for you. The sturgeon biologist we spoke to calls the number of sturgeon speared in the past couple of years incredible. But of course, you know, with a smaller crowd expected to spear this year, the number of sturgeon harvested could look a lot different, could be a lot smaller. So she said last year 1,400 sturgeon, the year before 1,500 sturgeon. Even if that number is less, she says a lot of factors go into sturgeon management. So she doesn't think this is going to create, in her words, a disaster. She calls the population stable and resistant to change. So in her own words, she says this really could just be Mother Nature's way of kind of evening things out.
All right, Emily, thank you for keeping an eye on that for everyone who is planning for sturgeon spearing. And again, those dangerous ice conditions. We appreciate it. Thanks, Emily. I want to talk now about February. It is American Heart Month, really a time designated to encourage you to focus on your heart health. So important. And Kristen Allen joining us in our First Alert newsroom. You know so well about this, Kristen, and a lot of people really trying to raise awareness this month for heart and cardiovascular health.
Yeah, I've really been learning a lot about this. I spoke to an interventional cardiologist yesterday with Beylon Health, and it's really important because there are some symptoms that go along with heart disease that people may not know about. And I'm actually more familiar with congenital heart disease because my daughter was born with a heart defect, but that's different than when we talk about heart disease in adult, because when it's congenital, it's something kids are born with. There's nothing that can be done to prevent it. But as adults, there are things that we can do to prevent heart disease, and sometimes people have, different heart disease that it doesn't actually have any symptoms. So you can be appearing to be pretty healthy, not be overweight, be an active person, but still just have genetic high blood pressure or genetic high cholesterol. And those things maybe sometimes don't cause symptoms until the end when it affects your heart, and it could be too late. So that's why doctors really want you to take time this month to learn about your genetics, go to the doctors, get your blood pressure, get your cholesterol checked, and really learn what's going on.
All right, Kristen, thank you. What is the most common type of heart disease?
Well, that is coronary artery disease, and that is when plaque builds up in your arteries, and that decreases blood flow to your heart. And so according to the Centers for Disease Control, this is the most common type of heart disease in the U.S., and it affects blood flow, again, to the heart. And then when you have decreased blood flow, that can cause a heart attack. Symptoms of a heart attack can include chest pain, discomfort, pain in the upper back or neck, fatigue, shortness of breath, and then risk factors for that is having having diabetes, being overweight, not being active, or drinking too much alcohol.
All right, turning now to a discussion at the First Alert Safety Desk here with Aisha, talking first about Facebook quizzes.
Yes, Facebook quizzes.
Those are, I think people look at them and think, oh, that's kind of a fun little thing, pass some time and just,
the personality
fill
ones,
it in.
the fun ones.
Right, but it's just not always really smart to do that.
Yeah, and the BBB wants everybody to know that it could be a scam depending on the questions that they ask. And really, you just got to be careful because you get those pop-up ads after you start taking those quizzes. So it's just not a good thing either way. But it might ask you things like, what was the first car you owned? What is your mother's maiden name? And then you think about, those are the questions that you get when you're filling out bank information, credit card information, right? And I know you've mentioned this in your consumer reports too, just to be careful with identity theft and all that. So the BBB does have some tips to help avoid this. We pretty much talk about this every single time when it comes to identity theft, but it's a good reminder. Just be skeptical first and foremost before answering a quiz. Figure out where it's been created. Is it a brand you trust? Things like that. And then adjust those privacy settings for sure with your social media accounts, and be strict about what information you're putting out there. Remove personal details from your profile, things like your address, your phone number, because chances are the people that you want to have those those details already know those details. And then another one is obviously don't give answers to those common security questions, but monitor your friend requests. This is a big one because sometimes you get double friend requests from the same person. I get that from some family members, and I make sure I ask them first, was this you? Because it could be a scammer posing as a family member trying to take your information and then going down that rabbit hole, stealing your identity.
Yeah, all good reminders. Yeah, just want to really take a moment and think about it before you're doing any of that clicking. Great, thanks so much, Aisha. Appreciate that. And we have something important before we go this morning. We want to share with you, very important to our WBAY family here. This coming May will mark 2 years since our colleague Sarah Thomsen suffered a severe concussion in a car crash. That crash, police cited the other driver for causing. So Sarah has made some pretty amazing progress in her recovery, but she still really has a long way to go. We're very sad to announce that her amazing award-winning tenure here at WBAY has come to an end, and we wanted to update you on this. Since that car crash, Sarah has worked with multiple doctors and undergone physical, speech, and vision therapy several times a week to try and overcome her concussion symptoms. And while Sarah's memory has come back and she's now able to drive, some things still remain a challenge, like multitasking and her ability to read. And a few months ago, Sarah learned that her full-time position at WBAY could no longer be held for her.
When we talked last time, I said, I'll be back. That has always been my intention. I have done everything my doctors have asked, but I won't be back. I'm no longer afforded the opportunity to return to my 4 o'clock anchor position with you. That hurts. I'm not better yet. I completely understand, and I'm very thankful the station has given me as much time as they did for me to recover. But at some point, it's just too long.
Sarah Thomsen.
And Sarah says she will always cherish her 2 decades at Channel 2, looking back at some of those stories that she did, such important stories here. She says she will deeply miss telling her investigative stories and, of course, the viewers of Northeast Wisconsin and her WBAY family. And you will see more of Sarah's very emotional interview with her longtime co-anchor and good friend, Jeff Alexander. That is right here tonight on Action 2 News at 6. And it is, I can't even express how sad we are at this, but how fortunate we all are to have worked with Sarah. Mm-hmm. She is an amazing journalist, a great person, so hardworking, one of the hardest working people that I think we can all say that we've worked with here at Channel 2.
She grew up on a farm, and she is a true journalist. She and I started a few months apart in 2003. That's how long she's been here. And
she's the newsroom mom too.
She really
you know,
is.
you could always go and talk to her about anything work related, and she is always busy, but she would stop and take a moment to talk to you about whatever it is, help you out with whatever situation you're dealing with.
I think one of the hardest things is she looks fine.
Right.
You know, she
Right.
looks
She really
fine,
does.
but her brain is altered, and she's been working so hard to try to get it back to where she can do the job she used to do, and it hasn't happened
And
yet.
some of those things, like multitasking, like
Right.
when you guys anchor the news stories, you guys are doing a lot of multitasking. The reading, like right now we're, I'm not reading out of the teleprompter, but a lot of times you guys are. These are things that like seem easy,
Right.
but when you go through something so traumatic, it's not. It's,
And remember the piles of paper, the records that she
she
would go through,
Gosh, yes.
thousands and thousands of pages to do an investigation sometimes.
Extreme
And
detail.
yes,
And
we
so
got to do our cutting.
we
but-
do. And difficult day here for us, but we want you to join Jeff for his story tonight on Action 2 News at 6. We're going to prepare for our cut-in here behind scene. And Sarah, we love you, and we are supporting you. We're right here for you. All right.